We are live. Thank you for tuning in to Naijha Speaks. I'm Naijha Wright Brown, your host, and I'm here to help you. Let me help you find your vegan soul through food, people, events, and culture. So, what does soap have to do with it? Today's guest is about to speak on it. So, please ask questions, like, share, and comment during this live discussion. Please welcome Lisa Bronner, the granddaughter of Emmanuel Bronner. We know who that is, right? The founder of Dr. Bronner's, the family owned maker of the top selling natural brand of soaps and body care products in North America. They now sell chocolates too. Please, peace and blessings, Lisa. How are you?
Thank you so much, Naijha. It's so great to be here. I'm doing well. How are you this morning?
Oh, I was been excited for weeks. I've been reading the book, and you kind of scared me a little bit in the beginning of the book about your son moving out. But at 15, I have an 11-year-old. So hey, everyone, you need to pre-order this book. Why is now a good time for your first book? This is your first book, and why Soap and Soul?
Well, it took me a while to get the idea into a book form in my head, which is the first place that it had to exist. I've been writing a blog for 13 years now called Going Green with Lisa Bronner. That's just tips and recipes and advice and ways to simplify your life, simplify the chemical inputs in your life, make things a little easier, a little safer. And so I've been doing this, month by month through the years. And, eventually I was like, wow, it'd be really nice if this was all in one spot. And I did hear that from some readers because I wanted people to see that this is all part of a big picture. It's not just how to make a soap spray or, how to go organic on a budget. That's part of a whole life. And so I wanted to write a book compiling all that information, but really showing how it's holistic, how it's all related. But even more so, I wanted to show how there's an intangible component to how we care for our physical spaces. So we care for our bodies, we care for our houses, but all of that is tied to how we care for our inner selves and our inner well-being. And that's where the soul comes in. And so once again, I wanted to talk about how this is all related, that as we care for our spaces around us, we're really caring for our inner well-being as well. And sometimes as we tend to our inner well-being, you can see evidence of that in the physical spaces and our external bodies as well.
Now, when reading the book, and I haven't read the whole book, I've been absorbing a lot of the information in there. And what touched me was the different type of soaps and the ingredients that are in a lot of the soaps that we buy, especially we as women. I'm very particular about the type of soap that I put in on my face. I don't want a bunch of soaps that have a lot of different ingredients and different. As a matter of fact, I'm a shea butter baby.
Excellent. That's
so
good.
People know what I'm like. Raw shea butter and probably some lavender oil in it, on my face, whether it's a soap or whether it's cream. And then on the body, I don't like to feel too much oil in the soap, like unnatural or heavy oils. I like Dr. Bronner's peppermint oil, and then you had an almond oil at one time, the N Factory farming oil that, man, beautiful. And then my favorite is this lavender 4-in-1 soap. That hands down is my favorite. So very important, all the different chemicals that are in some of these body products. Can you speak about that?
Yes, this was one of the things that really got me into my own personal journey when it came to my body care products. You'd think that maybe, being a Bronner, I grew up with this just inherent in my psyche and in my awareness. But no, I had to walk my own road and wander around for a bit before I realized that that what my family had been doing all along was actually the right path. The issue is that there are a lot of different ingredients in our body care products and in our conventional body care products. The research shows that we as women, we apply at least 13 different products to our bodies on average on a daily basis. That's 13 products, but each of those products have a plethora of ingredients. And so it gets up into the hundreds of different individual ingredients that we're putting on our bodies. And compounding that large number is when I realized there was actually no oversight of these ingredients. We assume as consumers that there's somebody managing this list of ingredients, that there's some guidelines over what ingredients are good for our bodies and what are not, that there's some safety testing of ingredients. And in fact, there's none. Up until this past year, the whole cosmetics and personal care industry was governed by a regulation from 1938 that actually covered food, drugs, and cosmetics, which is a massive, massive field. And the part on cosmetics was tiny. It's like, about 10 sentences that's trying to govern all cosmetics, what's good, what's not. And so it was a free for all. And so when I realized that there was this basically unregulated situation going into body care, I knew that it was on me to look at the ingredients. And I did exactly what you did. I dialed it back. I got simple. I started looking at single ingredient products, like you said, with the shea butter. I use coconut oil, realizing that a lot of the things that can go on my body are the things that go in my body. And so, I use things like sugar. You mentioned our 4-in-1 soap. That's our sugar soap, because sugar is actually a great ingredient to draw moisture into our skin. And so dialing it back and simplifying products, simplifying the number of products, simplifying the number of ingredients in the products, and making sure that what we put on our bodies on a regular basis is what's best for our bodies. Because if it's not good, we're getting a lot of exposure if these are products we're putting on every day. And it really does add up. We see a lot of skyrocketing rates of allergic reactions, and even internal reactions such as endocrine disruption and sensitization. And I think a lot of that is being traced back to the ingredients that are just out there regularly being put on people's skin.
Exactly. You may not know this, Lisa. I was when I had your brother David Bronner on, I told him my first introduction to Dr. Bronner's soaps was when I was 6 years old. I come from a New York City housing project, and my mother sent me to Massachusetts, to the Berkshires, for camp for the summer. And they used to have these soaps, back at home, we were using Caress and Ivory, Dove, those type of soaps. But when I used to go to camp, that's all I used to see, were these big tubs of soap with a bunch of different writing. Never in a million years to this day would I would be connected with Dr. Bronner's and the family. So, it just came full circle. But I was always amazed at that soap because it had so many different words on it. And I never got to read all these words. It's just everything that you can think of about the soap is on that soap. With the book, and I'm going to show everyone right here a graphic of Lisa holding the book up, Soap and Soul. Who are you targeting with this book? So every writer, I assume, has a target market that they're trying to reach. Who is your target market? Who should be pre-ordering this book right now?
When I was writing, I actually I created specific audience members I was speaking to. I gave them names. I thought about the people in my life and in my circle that I wanted to talk to. And so I had 5 different people that I was talking to. I had those who were busy and they just don't have time to do research. They want to use good products, but they just don't have time to do the research. So I was talking to the busy person, the busy mom, the busy professional that just wants to hear. I was talking to the people who want to know why. The people who don't just want to believe, do this, do that, but they want to know, why are you telling me this? And so I had the curious was part of my target audience. And so that's why in the book, you're going to see a lot of science about, how does soap work? Why is soap okay when we've been told we need detergents and we need all these stronger products? So the busy, the curious, the budget conscious, the people who are, wanting to do well, but think it's really expensive, and they want to use good products, but, they look really expensive on the shelf. So I'm talking to the budget conscious and sharing ways you can use, make your own things, make your own products for personal care, for house care. And then I was Also talking, of course, to the more crunchy among us. I'm actually pretty crunchy on the inside. Those who just are aware of our impact on nature, impact on our environment around us and our daily decisions, and they are trying to be very mindful of the world around them. So talking to them. And then lastly, I had an audience segment in mind that are the story receivers, the people who really like stories. A recipe book is not all that engaging, but they could connect to a narrative. And that's why I put a lot of my own story in the book, so that it's not just advice sitting, talking over your shoulder, but this is my life and this is how I came to these things, how I had to learn some hard lessons sometimes, not only in using products, but also my own journey as a woman, as a writer, as a professional, as a public speaker, and then how I fit into my own family's legacy. My generation is our 5th generation of soap makers, and how did I find my own place in that sequence? I'm also the only female in my with my siblings, and there aren't that many females in the Bronner line for some reason, and so that has its own unique part of the story. So I had those 5 different categories of people in my audience and I always was trying to make sure, okay, something for this person, something for the curious, something for the budget. I got a story in there, so that there'd be something for all those people in the book.
So you're talking about me. I fit all of those.
Well,
so that's
I think I do too.
And I started with
good.
introduction, and I learned something about your ta-da list. Like, I'm like, wow, now I don't feel so bad. Like, that whole piece right there was a learning experience for me. The ta-da, and folks, I'm not going to get into all of that because that's why you got to get the book. But I learned something about that. I'm like, wow, I feel good knowing this now, this ta-da list. We have someone. Hey, Tom, thank you for tuning in. I see you there. I'm happy to know. I'm sure Lisa's happy to know you use Dr. Bronner's and you like eucalyptus and the tea tree. Yes, definitely. With that, if you're having a cold and a nice bath, you can, smell that in and clear up those nostrils. I also learned the peppermint oil that you can use for what is it? Breathalyzer. Your brother was telling me that, like, you can spray it in your mouth. So I'm like, that was new for me,
right,
too.
I would do that with a peppermint hand sanitizer instead of the peppermint soap. But yes, that's a kind of an off-label use of the peppermint hand sanitizer as a quick little breath refresh.
Yes. So now you talk about being the only granddaughter, and I wasn't sure about that. I assumed that, so I'm glad you confirmed it. How was it growing up being the only?
Well, there's actually a little bit more to the story, because growing up, I was the only granddaughter. There were 6 grandchildren from Dr. Bronner, and I was the youngest and the only female until 2020. And we had a family mystery clear up, and it's been beautiful and wonderful. There had been some understanding or wondering about one of my grandfather's oldest child, his only daughter Ellen, that she had a child, but as a baby the child had been adopted into her father's family, and we never heard anything about her again. And then in 2020 we reconnected, and she found us. She had no idea about us either, and then she went on her own journey and found us. So at the age of 67, I think she was, she came back into our family, and now we have 2 granddaughters that are bookending the generation. So that's been an amazing and wonderful story, which is in the book as well. The story just of our family's journey with, putting itself back together after some times of fracturing and disconnect. But growing up, as I said, I was the only female. My grandfather, I have my 3 cousins from his older son, Ralph Bronner, and then my dad was the younger son, Jim Bronner. My brothers, David and Mike Bronner, run Dr. Bronner's The Company today. And so it was funny because my grandfather, if you've ever read any of the label, it's exactly how he spoke, full of exclamation points, really on topic. And the writing on the bottle was really his main reason for selling the soap, which was he desperately wanted to communicate a message of world peace and of unity and of connecting with our brothers and sisters around the world. He wanted people to see that there's more in common between us than we have differences. And that's what all that writing on the bottle is about. It's about this philosophy. And when you talk to him, that's all he wanted to talk about. If you asked him a personal question, a question about his history, a question about, some cultural situation, he didn't want to talk about that. That was not important compared to saving Spaceship Earth and uniting all people. And so this was even true with us as his grandchildren. So we would be little kids going to visit their grandpa, and it was, and he was my only living grandparent. So this is my only grandparent, engagement, and it was sitting and listening to granddaughter. I think he asked my brothers harder questions and were a little more hard hitting with me. There were some things he wanted to make sure. He wanted to make sure I worked with my hands at some point in my life. He felt that was really important, that whatever we choose to do professionally, that we spend some time working with our hands. It connects people who work with their hands all around the world and just connects you with your physical world around you. He wanted to make sure I learned how to type. And that I learned how to use a computer. We're talking in the 80s here, when computers were really becoming personal devices. And he saw that as a way of the future. And so I think he had a more of a soft spot for me than, and for my brothers, and my cousins. I think he maybe asked them the harder questions, but I appreciated that.
That was great advice. Definitely the personal computer in the 80s. I remember that, again, coming from the housing, city projects, owning a personal computer was unheard of. But
Right.
That magazine Daymark allowed me to make 4 payments. And I was working at the time, and I owned a computer. And that was during the time of AOL. So I was
wow,
able to, yeah, remember AOL?
I do.
And then I knew how to type. So it's very important skills that he taught you. And that whole the all one slogan, very important. One race, the human race. And if people were to try love and exemplify love, demonstrate love, we probably wouldn't have this situation of, racism and all these isms that are out there. So definitely before your grandfather's time, he was on it. So yes, try love. Talking about writing the book journey. I want to write a book. I've been wanting to write a book for decades, but haven't started. Can you talk us through that journey? We know you had the Going Green with Lisa. What should I be doing? I have a story to tell. And I want to tell a story as I see your book. I'm like, wow, this is a woman after my own heart. I want to tell this story this way. And maybe it's not about soap. Maybe it's about, growing up, in poverty and coming out. Like, whatever that story is, where do I start?
Right. You have to start before you're ready. You will never be ready to write it. You will never have all your ducks in a row and have this like space clear in your life and say, now I can write a book. It's not going to happen. And so that was one piece of advice I received early on from a podcast, was just jump in, start before you're ready, and start wherever it appeals to you. You don't have to start your story in the beginning. I am a very disorganized writer. I have always been disorganized. I just have to write what's on my mind. And literally, I will print out my writing. I will take scissors and cut it up, and I will rearrange it and tape it together. And then I go back into my computer and put it together. This is just how I write. And
sounds
so,
like me.
Yeah, all this fancy cut and paste. I mean, yeah, I know how to do all of that, but sometimes I just have to. I have to feel it. I have to cut it, and I have to tape it. Yeah. So jumping in before you're ready, I knew when I was going to start this journey that I didn't have time to write a book. and that I had no idea how I was going to fit this in. And again, there wasn't like there was this magically cleared space in my life. The image I have of, sitting down in a pretty desk with your cup of tea and your quiet. Yeah, that was not my experience. I had to just write wherever I was, sitting outside my son's trombone lesson, watching a tennis match for my son, on an airplane, visiting my other son at college. Like, I just had to write wherever I was because it wasn't like life was going to stop. My husband would hear me complain, like, can't everything just stop so I can write? And he would very wisely point out, if everything stopped so that you could write, you wouldn't have anything to write about.
Wow. That right there, what you just said, is intense, because I know people that they tell me sometimes, okay, they have an issue with writing, or they can't write unless they're, let's say, at a conference, and then they can, get their mind together. I'm like, literally at a conference, and you're listening to a panel discussion, and then you're able to write some pages for your book. So that's really, really interesting you say that, because that's how I see myself. It's like, okay, when am I going to have it? Because there's always something going on. And like, how do I ground myself and start just focusing on writing? So I'm happy that you shared that with me. You just got to start the writing.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to jump in. I did listen to or read a lot of books about writing. It helped me a lot. Stephen King has a fantastic book called On Writing. I'm not much of a horror reader, so I haven't read any of his other books, but his book On Writing is fantastic. And then Anne Lamott's book, Bird by Bird, about her own writing journey, is fantastic. My one takeaway, or the one I go back to so much from her book, is I can't use her language here, but write your crappy first draft. Like, just get it out there. Don't edit. Don't, just put it out there. It's going to be bad. You might even toss most of it, but there will be one phrase from that first draft, or one little insight, and that will make it all worthwhile. And then you take that one kernel and keep going into your second draft. So yeah, I really tried to stand on the shoulders of others and learn from their journeys.
You're tuning in to Naijha Speaks. Welcome, Lisa Bronner. Please pre-order the Soap and Soul book. From the opening introduction, I've been drawn in. You can get this book now at soapandsoul.com. Pre-order it. It's going to be released October 10th. And if you order it now meaning today, you'll be able to download 11 recipes as a bonus. The website is in the comments. I just sent that out, and you can see it on the ticker, soapandsoulbook.com. Please order that book today. Oh my God. Are you going to have a book tour? Is that
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I have learned so much about the whole publishing realm, and we're in kind of a crazy time where books like actual, like, a physical hard copy book it's a bit of a luxury. We all know that bookstores are closing, and there are so many ways to publish books, self-publishing books. I didn't go that route. I went through a traditional publisher. Anyhow, so the whole book publishing world is changing. And unfortunately, physical book tours aren't quite as much of a thing as I had been hoping for. Again, I've been picturing like that nice dusk evening book signing in a bookstore where we, have a little talk and I get to meet people. I do have a couple happening here locally in San Diego. And then because my family is so active in the natural products industry and in the organic movement and in a lot of advocacy, I do have the opportunity to speak at quite a few conferences. So I'm active, but not in what I had hoped to be the getting to see all these little bookstores around the country. Apparently that's not done so much anymore, to my dismay.
Well, I'm looking forward to my hard copy, because hard copies are a thing. I still order hard copies. I would say I am an audiobook person, so I know you have the audiobook coming out, so I'm probably going to get that too. Sometimes there are just things I like to hear the voice of the author for some reason, opposed to just reading it myself. So audiobooks are really important and special for me. Is there a chapter, any particular chapter in your book that you really felt over inspired or motivated to write, and why? And do you want to share anything from that chapter?
Sure. Frustratingly enough for myself, like I do have to wait until the muse strikes me. And sometimes it strikes me in really inconvenient moments, like, out running my errands. I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got this kernel, I've got this idea and exactly how to phrase it. And if I don't stop and write it right then, it's gone. I can't say, oh, I'll remember that when I get home. It's gone. So I have to, I had notebooks with me all the time. I spoke notes into my phone to capture things. And so I distinctly remember writing what became the last chapter. As I said, I write things out of order. I write here, I write there. And you actually can read the book that way. Every chapter begins with a narrative about my life or my journey. One chapter is about my professional life, the office. One chapter is about my relationship with my parents. That's the kitchen. There's a chapter about my relationship with my husband. That's the laundry room. Anyhow, but I distinctly remember writing the last chapter, and it's so the book is organized by rooms of the house, and the last chapter is about the living room. And I remember writing this. I was sitting on my back porch. My son was living in the tent, and it was during the time where our kids were still going to school virtually. My son was in high school. And I remember sitting there. And it was kind of a funny moment because my son plays a trombone, and he played it for the band. And since school was virtual, that meant band class was virtual. So picture the scene of we're outside. He's in the tent on virtual class playing the trombone, and these words just started coming to me about how it all fits together. And I was thinking about my family. I was thinking about my dad, who my dad passed away when I was 21. So my kids never knew him. My kids would have loved him. He would have loved my kids. He would have loved where I live in the country. And so I was just thinking sort of this moment of the generations sort of swirling around and wishing that they were more connected, physically, but they couldn't be because my dad had already passed on. So I wrote this chapter, and it's about it all coming together. So I'm going to read you just a few paragraphs here. And I ended up starting with my older son, who plays the trumpet. And so here we go. A few years ago, my oldest, the trumpet player, who hadn't touched a piano in years, decided to master Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, my own senior recital piece, on the piano in our living room. It was very savvy of him to pick that piece because he knew I wouldn't stop him from practicing, even if he really should have been doing other work. And as my son now plays, I remember coming home at Thanksgiving during my freshman year of college. I had just turned 18, and when I walked in the door, I was greeted by my dad, playing Happy Birthday to me on a baby grand piano that had not been there when I left. Pop was not a musical person. He didn't read music, he didn't play, didn't even listen much to it, more of a talk radio guy. But he had learned at the age of 56 to play Happy Birthday, just for me. There was so much joy in that moment. I still have the sign he taped on the piano that day. For your birthday, Christmas, college graduation, marriage, and first baby shower. He lived to see all but the last one of those. In my dad's final weeks, he would often ask me to play his favorites on the piano. Think of Me from Phantom of the Opera, Debussy's Clair de Lune, Beethoven's Moonlight. My final pop memory, it was the afternoon of my wedding. Michael and I were about to leave for our honeymoon, and my dad was lying on the sofa in the living room. He had exerted a tremendous effort to accompany me down the aisle, toast us at the reception, and dance one final sunrise sunset with me. We knew the end was near, but we didn't realize how near. He passed away while we were driving home 6 days later. This was before cell phones were common, so we didn't know what awaited us. It was stunning, and it took me years to find the profundity in this sequence. There has been an astonishing simultaneity of joy and sorrow in the Bronner family, and it has happened far too often to be coincidental. It is God's way of reassuring us that life is a cycle with ongoing stories that ebb and flow.
Wow. Wow. Lisa, thank you for that. And that was, yeah, that was deep. Ocean deep to have that in the book.
Well, all of this, it's all, as I said, it's all related. And so as my family has made soap, this very physical product that, everybody uses some form of a cleanser. Soap itself is a very old substance. Mankind has known how to make soap for millennia. It's one of the earliest known chemical reactions that they did on purpose. And yet, and so even this very physical soap, it just kind of connects at a very fundamental human level of, it frequently is a bit of a muse that takes me into a bigger story of the years and of where I've come from and where we're going.
What are your favorite soaps? I don't think we talked about that.
Well, you mentioned one early, which is the almond Castile. So we have the two main soaps, which is the Castile and the sugar soaps. And the Castile is the original. It's the most simple, basic soap made with a blend of vegetable oils and then with essential oils for the scent. The sugar soaps are the Castile base, but then with the addition of sugar, white grape juice, and shikakai powder, which is a natural saponin. That's a skin softening ingredient, comes from a tree. Anyhow, so yeah, the almond is my all-time favorite. It's very cozy and it's comforting to me. The citrus is when I want a little bit of brightness. I use that, especially my house cleaning. I use a lot of citrus. So those are my two favorite. You see those colors reflected in the cover because
Yes.
the citrus is like the tangerine color, and then the
Yes.
almond is actually green. So they work that in kind of subtly to the book cover.
Awesome. We have a couple of comments. Let me just get in here. I know there's some, the sugar soap, Tom, is good for washing your hands. Yeah, I love it, especially the lavender scent. I like it for my face, especially when I have my little anxiety. It calms me down. Send Lisa to the bookseller in Chicago. It's female owned, and I'm certain people there use her products. Okay, the bookseller. Thank you for that, Tom. Tom is in Chicago. Definitely has a lot of questions. He wants to open a factory in Chicago. Could they please open a factory in Chicago? I'm not sure if you can answer that or not. Dr. Bronner looks like a good company to work for. I'm sure it is. I think it was on the list of some one of the best companies to work for. I thought I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, well, for the San Diego Union Tribune had a poll or survey, and yes, we did come up. We're a mid-sized company, and so part of my grandfather's philosophy that, as I said, he put on the bottle, but he does talk actually about business, and he had a phrase that he didn't come up with. I think we've determined that Buckminster Fuller came up with it, but it was called constructive capitalism. And the premise is that you share the profits of a product with the workers who created it, because you would never have the product if you didn't have your workers. And so that has driven a lot of our business decisions, from how we supply our ingredients at the farm level around the world, and how we take care of the employees that work for us today. And we're up over 300 now, and we have far higher than standard pay. We have bonuses and profit sharing and no deductible healthcare and vision and dental and childcare assistance and tuition assistance and lunch. So
wow.
Yeah,
I'm gonna apply. Today.
definitely. Go look at the career page, and some of the positions are remote, or we need field reps out there. So I don't know what we have open right now, so I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. But I know we have several positions open, so definitely go take a look. And as far as Chicago goes, it was interesting. I went to Chicago for the first time 3 weeks ago for a conference, and I loved Chicago. I just had never had the opportunity to go there. But what was interesting is I felt like I was coming a little bit full circle, because when my grandfather originally came to the United States in 1929 from Germany, Chicago was where he landed. And the 1930 census shows that he was living at the YMCA in Chicago and was getting his feet under him. So I felt like I was sort of coming back to his U.S. beginnings when I went to Chicago. Beautiful city.
Awesome. Definitely connect with the bookseller. Tom, thank you for telling us about that. And no, we're not going to forget about the vegan chocolate. I think I mentioned briefly when we opened up the vegan chocolate that we made. They have some of the best flavors. The coconut praline, I think it is. That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
That's a
So
great one.
yes, they have chocolate now at Dr.
Yes.
Bronner's.
Yeah, it's a vegan. Well, so our initial 7 bars were a vegan dark chocolate sweetened with coconut sugar, certified organic, fair trade. So we've really been careful about some of the problematic aspects of the cocoa industry. There have been some poor labor practices, but we're very careful to make sure we are sourcing all of our ingredients from reputable and excellent organizations. So the first 7 bars were dark chocolate, but next month in October, we are coming out with 3 oat milk chocolate bars. They're still vegan. They're delicious. The oat milk, the 3 initial oat milk flavors are going to be crunchy hazelnut butter, golden milk chai, and a creamy mocha latte. So,
oh wow!
They're really tasty.
I gotta stay tuned for that. That chai one sounds like a winner. Okay,
it's amazing. I actually have it right here, so it's really pretty.
Let me blow you up.
Yeah,
oh
okay.
wow!
So this is the golden milk chai. Honestly, I had no idea what this one was going to be because like chai and chocolate, it kind of sounded a little odd to me, but it is wonderful. It's got kind of a the cinnamon and turmeric and cardamom. It's got this real warm autumn coziness to it, and then this one is just a runaway favorite. In fact, it took me a long time to get to try this one because every time it was around for samples, it was gone before I got to it, which is the creamy mocha latte. And I don't know if you can see, there's like a nice iridescence on it.
I see it all.
And then here, this is our other new one, which is the crunchy hazelnut butter. So these launch, giving you kind of a sneak peek because they launch on October 24th. But these are coming out to a natural grocers near you. Natural grocers will tend to carry the fair trade and organic chocolate.
Tom, you're saying send me a box of those. I'm about to ask a box of those.
oh my goodness. Just today, right now, we're having a flash sale. I just remembered on the dark chocolate only, on the dark, the pure, the salted dark, which is you can get 2 bundles on promo over at the drbronner.com website. Just today, they're doing a flash sale. So if pure dark chocolate, you want to check that out.
There you go, Tommy was asking for the sale. Go to drbronner.com. There is a sale going on today. Thank you. But also, folks who are tuning in, you have to pre-order the book Soap and Soul today at soapandsoulbook.com. Get those 11 recipes to download. The book is released October 10th. Please pre-order this book. Trust me, I'm reading a bunch of books at the same time. This one is a winner. And it's like, Lisa, while I'm reading the book, it's like I'm reading about myself, like in a whole nother life. And I'm like, wow, I can relate to all of this. So my women friends, you're not going to be disappointed. Pre-order this book. Okay, you just got to do it. When I saw Soap and Soul as the title, I'm like, well, what does this have to do? We're talking about vegan soul, like soap on your body, absorption. Yes, it's just like that garbage in, garbage out. It's the same thing. You want to put the best products on your body, and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for it either. And it doesn't have to be compiled with all of these different ingredients. And Lisa talks about all of that in her book. And I like how you break down the certifications as well, what all of that stuff means. So definitely you will educate yourself. For those of us that want all the research in one area, this is a great book for that. Now I got to do some shameless promotion. You're tuning in to NaijhaSpeaks.com. Please subscribe to the channel, like, share, and comment. We get supported by Dr. Bronner's at Blackfish Society. So please, you're supporting us while you're watching, while you're donating. We are meeting people where they are on their holistic health, vegan and plant-based journey. This is all holistic. So this is what this is about. So I appreciate you taking the time out to come on and speak to us about the book, Lisa. We know you're really busy.
Oh, no, this is a fun part. Like, I could fill my days with just talking to people. I'm a teacher by training. I started as a high school English teacher. And so I still feel that I'm an educator, even though my classroom is a little bit different. I now, write the blog and a Facebook page, and I love getting to talk to people. So, I've talked about the stories in the book, but the book is packed with recipes. It's recipes for home care and body care. So making up your own sprays and cleaners for your house, and making up body scrubs and hair masks, and all sorts of ways to care for the body. Those are a little harder to read out loud because they're recipes. And I didn't want a book that was only recipes, so that's why I put the stories in. But even if you just pick it up because you want the recipes, the book is there for you. And you can just jump right to those parts that are where you're at in your needs and journey.
Lisa, is there another plan for a book? We're just gonna chill for a minute.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to the chill part. It hasn't happened yet. So here was another learning of mine. I thought, once I write the manuscript and submit it, and here I'm holding it like I did it physically. No, of course it was all through the computer. I thought, okay, I just sit back and wait for the book to be out. I think it's been busier since I submitted the manuscript, as far as preparing for the book launch, which is on October 10th. So I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything. Oh, I mean, of course, the busyness is a great thing. But I am looking forward to return to a routine. As far as another book, I've got several like in the pipeline, but I need to see like what resonates with people. Where are they, and what might help more? I mean, I could dive deeper into my family's history, which is definitely a massive story. My family was Jewish in Germany, and the Holocaust, of course, was massively destructive to our life there. We had my grandfather's own journey in America as an immigrant, as somebody who suffered from mental health issues. He went blind. So like, there's so much of the family story, and then I could dive more into the science. Like, I've got a title for a book. Is that okay? This book didn't have a title for a long time, but I've got a title for another book. And the book, a phrase I use in a lot of my writing is GIY, and it's like DIY, do it yourself, except right. GIY, green it yourself.
Yes.
But as I said, I always want people to understand the reasoning behind what we're telling them to do. And so I was going to have it be GIY, like WHY, like learn the science and the lore behind the recommendations. So that would be more of a sciencey book, maybe there. So I'm not sure. We'll see. Now, you were talking about book publishing, and there's many different routes to go down there. But I went the route where I wrote a proposal that was submitted to publishers, and then I went under contract. And honestly, for my own motivation, that's what I needed. If I didn't have a contract with a deadline, I'm not sure I would ever have finished writing it. The other way to do it is to write the book and write it on your own timetable and have it done and then go and shop it. That just would never have worked for me, because unfortunately I'm very motivated by deadlines. I need that target. So so if I had tried to write the book first and then find a publisher, it would still be an idea in my head.
No, I definitely feel you on that. Folks, here, Soap and Soul, pre-order the book now at soapandsoulbook.com. Lisa, how can people reach you directly? How can they stay connected with you?
Absolutely. And I encourage people to do that, because as I said, my favorite part of what I do is interacting with people. So I have my blog on lisabronner.com. And if you'll look at any article I've written, you'll see that the volume in the comments is much greater than the articles themselves, because there's just so much conversation and engagement and people looking for real information, which I very much appreciate. People asking me questions about their lives, which I just feel very honored that they would trust me with their questions. So that's lisabronner.com. I have another community that's very active over on Facebook, on Going Green with Lisa Bronner on Facebook. And that's where I'll put lots of tips and little snippets and parts from my life, and healthy living hacks and such. And then again, the conversations there, I feel like I've gotten to know people that I've never met, but I would recognize their name and know some things about their lives because of how active they are in commenting. And then I also have a YouTube channel where I put my videos. You can see my video about toilet cleaning, and one of my most popular, actually, right up there with laundry. Anyhow, so if visual is your way of taking in information, you might appreciate the YouTube channel. And again, got some. My favorite part is the comments. I love the community. I love the engagement that I get to have with people I may never see in person, but they're living their lives and trying to do the best that they can. And I'm glad that I can help. Naijha, I think you've muted.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm sorry. But I didn't want any noise from the background. That's one thing that came out of the pandemic, that global connection and that virtual and being able to reach different people. And this is actually how Naijha Speaks started. And that's how I met so many fantabulous people through this connection and interviewing. So you're right. All of that engagement. Again, Lisa, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you want to say before we take off? I'm going to say pre-order the book again. Pre-order at soapandsoulbook.com. Download those 11 recipes. Pre-order today.
That is fantastic. I'm so glad to get the book out there and to see what the next round of community engagement is. One thing that I love learning about people is that although you hear about, nastiness online and people, being not their normal selves when they engage online, I have not found that to be the case, where people that are just trying to make the best decisions for themselves and their families, and they're wanting to connect with other people. And that's a beautiful thing about the online communities that I found. So you just got my mind going towards that when you were talking about how the pandemic actually did connect us more virtually. And that's been wonderful. So thank you, Naijha, for letting me come on and talk about my book so much and for your enthusiasm about it. It's just, sometimes I get a little too much in my own head. I'm like, is it all me? So I do feel like I'm letting my baby go out there into the world, and it's going to have to stand on its own. And so I'm curious and maybe a little bit trepidatious to see how that all turns out. So thank you again for having me and for letting me share so much about the book and the process of writing it.
It was my pleasure, everyone. Again, Lisa Bronner, Soap and Soul. Pre-order the book. It's released October 10th, but pre-order today so you can download the 11 recipes for free. Thanks again for tuning in. Whatever you do, please be well, be safe, and hey, go green with Lisa. Have a good one.